Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. A very warm welcome to this Monday, 5th December 2022 morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam discussion. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, Text 9. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jai Radha Mata. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe, Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe, Jai Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jaya Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Stottra Shatrashi Srimad His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, सामवेद भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Krishne Matirastu. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, Text 9. Brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ vatsate vicikitsitam ahaṁ coditaḥ saumya bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ vatsate vicikitsitam ahaṁ coditaḥ saumya bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ vatsate vicikitsitam ahaṁ coditaḥ saumya bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Word by word, Brahma uvacha, Lord Brahma said, samyak, perfectly, kāruṇikasya, of you who are very kind, idam, this, vatsa, my dear boy, te, your, vicikitsitam, inquisitiveness, yat, by which, ahaṁ, myself, coditaḥ, inspired, saumya, O gentle one, bhagavat, of the personality of Godhead, virya, prowess, darśane, in the matter of. Translation. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Nārada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Brahmaji, being so questioned by Nārada ji, congratulated him, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify the atmosphere in which the discussions are held, and the devotees thus become enlivened while answering such questions. It is purifying both for the questioners and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not only satisfied by knowing everything about the Lord, but are also eager to broadcast the information to others, for they want to see that the glories of the Lord are known to everyone. Thus, the devotee feels satisfied when such an opportunity is offered to him. This is the basic principle of missionary activities. Before we discuss on this verse, let us offer some prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नाम श्रेष्ठं मनुमपि शचिपुत्रं मत्र स्वरूपं रूपं तस्याग्रजं मुरुपुरीं माथुरीं गोष्ठावतीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरं महो राधिका माधवाशं प्राप्तो यस्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च अददन्दस्तृणं दन्ते इदं याचः पुनः पुनः श्रीमन्रूपपदाम्भोजं धूलिस्यां जन्म जन्मनि हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Verse 9. Brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ vatsate vicikitsitam yadaham coditaḥ saumya bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Lord Brahma said, "My dear boy Nārada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead." This is again a wonderful verse in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam where Brahmaji, who is the father of Nārada Muni, is replying to the questions being asked by Nārada Muni. In the preceding verses, Nārada Muni has asked many questions to Brahmaji. And in this verse, Lord Brahma is starting to answer those questions. And how wonderfully he starts the answer of these questions. He gives the wonderful praise to Nārada Muni by calling him that you are extremely kind. Kāruṇikasyedaṁ. We hear in this in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam about the wonderful glories of the gopis of Vrindavan, and one of the glories is Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham shravana mangalam Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam bhuvi grinanti ye bhurida jana. This is a Gopi Gita, one of the beautiful shlokas in Gopi Gita. This transcendental divine hymns of love for Krishna, which is sung by the gopis of Vrindavana. And in that, one of the verses is that this is the transcendental divine potency about hearing about the divine pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Tava katha amritam. So that is the first few words of that verse. It says that the pastimes of the Lord, the talks of the Lord, the pure devotees of the Lord, when the discussions of these activities are taking place, it is like nectar, literally a nectar. What is nectar? Nectar is katha amritam. So, mritam means death. mrita sharira. So this body is subject to death. But our original constitutional position is amrita. We never die. So amritam means going to that part of us that never dies. And that part is the real part of us. It is the real us. It's not even the part. The body is a part of us. The mind is a part of us. But the real us is amrita, that never dies. So this is tapamyaham aham varsham nigranami utsirjami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasa chaham arjuna. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita about how he is everything. Krishna is everything. He says that tapamyaham aham varsham. So if we go to a tropical country in the summer season, it's extremely hot. That is called tapa, the extreme heat. So Krishna says that I am. Aham varsham. I am also the rain. Tapamyaham aham varsham nigranami utsirjami cha. So whatever is given and whatever is taken away, that is the Lord. Amritam chaiva mrityuscha. So Krishna is immortality and Krishna is death as well. Sad asat chaham Arjuna. Krishna is the truth and Krishna is anything that is not the truth as well. So there is nowhere where the Lord is not present. This is the vision of the pure devotee of the Lord. And when we are talking about tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham. So it is tapta jivanam. So this samsara dava nalalidha loka. So in the Guru Ashtakam prayer, it is the material existence is considered like the forest fire. Dava nala. So this is the material existence, because in the material existence, it is as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Mamupetya punarjanmam dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. This is in this material existence, it is called the abode of misery. Why is it the abode of misery? Because we are identifying with something that is temporary. We are actually permanent. Our existence is permanent. Our bliss is permanent. Our relationship with Krishna is permanent. Everything is permanent within us. But externally, everything is temporary. The body is temporary. The mind is temporary until the time one goes back home, back to Godhead. Until then, the mind is part of the subtle body. And the subtle body is going from one soul to another soul. It is every time when this soul has to seemingly take birth. Actually, this is what Krishna said. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So our original existence is that there was never a time when we did not exist, and never a time in the future when we will cease to exist. We are unborn, eternal, nityam, shashvatoyam, purano, the oldest. And when the body is destroyed, we do not get destroyed. So that is the real us, the real personality. So this real personality is always linked with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Krishna says, mama eva amsha, that all the living entities are eternally part and parcel of my part and parcel. Krishna says, mama eva amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanātana. So Sanātana means eternally. But what happens? Why is this struggle in the material universe taking place? Why do we think that this material universe is an abode of misery? And it is actually an abode of misery until the person reaches the point of total surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When person reaches the total surrender, then Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibhyati. Swarga apavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshina. when there is 100% surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it does not matter where the person is actually situated. A person can be situated in Swarga, in the heavenly planet. But even in the heavenly planet, the mind will be focused on the Lord. And when the mind is focused on the Lord, everything is focused on the Lord. So that's why Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Krishna says that, give your mind to me, man mana bhava mad bhakta, become my devotee, madhyaji mam namaskuru, offer your obeisances to me, offer your prayers to me, mame vaishyasi satyam te. So Krishna says to Arjuna that, surely you will come to me, Arjuna. This is the truth. And why I am telling this to you? Pratijane priyosime. Oh Arjuna, because you are so dear to me, I am telling this to you. This is the transcendental position of involving in even an iota of Krishna consciousness. So therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Na iha abhikrama nasha asti. Not even, there is no loss or diminution in this endeavor. Why? Neha abhikrama nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate. It is not. So Arjuna asks a very, very important question in Bhagavad Gita. All his questions are important from the perspective of the conditioned living entity. But this important question, what he asks is in terms of, he says that what happens to a person who starts going in the direction of spiritual emancipation, going back home, back to Godhead, but somehow or other, the person is not able to complete that journey. So is he like a lost cloud? He gives the example of a lost cloud, which cannot do anything, literally. This is a question that Arjuna asks Krishna. And then Krishna says that there is no loss or diminution in this path. And even a small step in this direction, swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, saves one from greatest dangers. This is the total 100% conviction that Krishna provides to the people who are going in the direction of surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself. This is the so sometimes a person is going in that direction of, and it is not kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgama patitastat kavayo vadanti. So it is uttishta jagrata prapya varan nibodhya. So it is said that it is like walking on the razor's edge. This going in the direction of spiritual knowledge and spiritual practice is like walking on a razor's edge. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratya. So one can get cut at any moment if one is not careful. Durgama patithastat kavayo vadanti. So it is said in Vedas that Durgama, it is very Sugama means the journey which is very very nice, very peaceful journey without any difficulties. Durgama means the difficult journey. So the spiritual journey is not that easy. Why it is not easy? Initially it is not easy, and initially nothing is easy if you look at it that way, except the things that one is interested in. If one is interested in something, because of that interest, the thing becomes just like a walk in the park kind of thing, because of the interest. So it is, and how does one cultivate the interest? One cultivates the interest when one is with the people who have that interest. So this is what is called satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalitatvam, nischalitatve jivan mukti. So this is said by Srila Shankaracharya in Bhaja Govinda. He talks about this association of the people who are attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is satsanga. So satam prasangat mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tad joshanadashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. This is a beautiful verse in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam where it is mentioned how when one is in the association of the people who are attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are called Satam. They are after the Supreme Absolute Truth. So we can actually say Sat, if we write it in a capital way, in English letters, S-A-T. So you can actually say S as Supreme, A as Absolute, and T as Truth. So Sat is Supreme Absolute Truth. It's quite an interesting coincidence that has happened in that way, but such an amazing coincidence that Sat could be Supreme, is Supreme Absolute Truth, and anyone after the Supreme Absolute Truth are called Satam, the people who are after the Supreme Absolute Truth. So when all of the people who is after the Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna is Satyam Param Dhimahi. So in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the first verse, which says Janmadhyasya yato anvayaditaratascha bhiknyeshu swarat. So Krishna is independent. That's what swarat means. In the end of that verse, it says Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate upon the Supreme Absolute Truth. That is Satyam Param. So Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is Supreme Absolute Truth. And the people who are after the Supreme Absolute Truth, they are called Satam. And when these people, Satam, prasangat, when they are discussing, what are they discussing about? Mama Virya Samvido. They are discussing about the divine pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only thing that is there in their mind. Nothing else is there in their mind. So whatever is in their mind comes into their speech. So in their mind, the divine activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. His divine speech is there, which is Bhagavad-Gita. His divine devotees are there, which are like Arjuna, the Pandavas, Kunti Devi, Draupadi, all these divine, pure devotees of the Lord. That's there in their mind. And there are unlimited. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta mad bhavam magata. Vitaraga bhayakrodha manmaya mamupashrita. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta mad bhavam agata. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that when one is totally surrendered and totally in love with Krishna, then there is no raga, bhaya, and krodha. There is no attachment. The material attachment is conspicuous by its absence. Raga, bhaya. When there is material attachment, there is bhaya and krodha. There is fear and there is anger. So, dhyayate vishyan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate krodhat bhati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramat smriti bhramshat buddhinasho pranashyati. So Krishna gives that. So where is it all starting? The total destruction of the spiritual energy within, where is it all starting? It starts when one is meditating on the material objects. Dhyayate vishyan pumsa. Because when we're meditating on the material objects, we are considering ourselves as matter. That's why we meditate on material objects. When we know that we are spiritual, we will only, our meditation will only be on the spiritual object, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His pure devotees. So when there is meditation on the material objects, dhyayate vishyan pumsa, there is attachment to that material object. Sangas teshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama. So then there is this passion, passion in the wrong sense, which is the passion which. So there could be a passion where one is aiming for higher taste. Tatra laulyam api ekalam mulyam janma koti sukritirna labhyate. So there is this laulya, and then there is this the greed, the lobha. So there are two different things. The lobha is the greed for material, for getting material things. And laulya is the greed for getting spiritual attachment, getting spiritual things. So when there is laulya, then there is no lobha. So tatra laulyam api ekalam mulyam janma koti sukritirna Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate. Srila Rupa Goswami says that this wonderful divine nectarian love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, which is Krishna Bhakti. What is it made up of? Rasa bhavita mati. It is full of bliss and full of loving sentiments for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rasa bhavita mati. He says that kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate. If it is available somewhere, let me go and buy it. Srila Rupa Goswami says this. Then what is the price that I have to pay to buy this love for Krishna? Krishna Bhakti. Tatra laulyam api ekalam mulyam. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that the only price that one has to pay is the greed for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the higher taste. So this is the wonderful part of the devotional service for the Lord, that whenever something is used in the service of the Lord, it becomes sanctified, it becomes divine. So this is kamad dveshad bhayat snehat yad bhakta ishvare mana aveshyatad agham hitva bhavas tad gatim gata. So this is mentioned in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, kamad dveshad bhayat snehat. So this kama, dvesha, bhaya, so they by itself they are negative qualities, because by itself they are inclined towards material possessions and material attractions. But when they are employed in the service of the Lord, the best example about the anger being employed in the service of the Lord is Hanumanji. So Hanumanji was totally surrendered onto Sri Ram, and whenever something was going wrong for Sri Ram, Hanuman got angry. So he used his anger in the service of Lord Sri Ram. And with that anger, he actually burnt the city of Lanka. When he was in Lanka, the Ravana and his demon fraternity tried to burn his tail. But what he did was, he used that, whatever was his tail was burnt, he used that to burn the city of Lanka in anger. So this is the wonderful state of the pure devotees of the Lord, like Sri Hanumanji. Whatever they have, they are using it in the service of the Lord. And when that happens, it becomes divine. So prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hi asau buddhi paryavatishtate. So this is what is prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hi asau buddhi paryavatishtate. This is when one is in that state of getting the prasada of the Lord. What is the prasada? The mercy. So when one is in that state of getting the mercy of the Lord, then all the different types of material afflictions are automatically taken away. Because material afflictions bother the person when the person actually identifies with those material afflictions. So there is this material affliction of adhyatmika, adhibhautika, and adidevika. Adhyatmika is the material affliction coming from one's own body. Adibhautika is material affliction coming from other living entities. And other living entities could be humans, or it could be other types of living entities. And then adidevika is the material afflictions coming from the natural calamities that happen. So that is adidevika. So all this, these are the three different kinds of afflictions that can happen. But one of the wonderful things about about the state of human mind is that one could be in the greatest calamities, but if one's mind does not identify with those calamities, one will not be in those calamities. It is just an amazing power that the human form of life has. Therefore, it is said that durlabham manusham janmam tadapi adhruvam arthadam. Srila Prahlad Maharaj says in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Kaumaram acharet prajñām dharman bhagavata durlabham manusham janmam tadapi adhruvam arthadam. So Srila Prahlad Maharaj says that this engagement in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, that is prajna. Prajna is the wisdom, and the wisdom comes when one is surrendered onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the real wisdom. Vedescha sarver ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedanta vedeva chaham. So this is so therefore Prahlad Maharaj is saying kaumaram acharet prajna dharman bhagavataniha. This bhagavata dharma. What is the bhagavata dharma? It is that which helps one to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. That is bhagavata dharma. Dharman bhagavataniha. So one has to get engaged in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead from childhood itself. Why? Because durlabham manusham janmam. Srila Prahlad Maharaj says that this human form of life is very rarely attained. And even though it is rarely attained, it is adhruvam arthadam. It is temporary. And it is arthadam. It is it is priceless. You cannot put a price on the human form of life. For that matter, any form of life is really precious. But then in human form of life, one has got this evolved intelligence with which one can either help oneself to go in the direction of coming out of this cycle of birth and death, or one could actually drag oneself. Then that is what is unfortunately called ignorance, avidya. So avidya is the first. There are 5 different impurities that are said in the yoga. So there is avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. So it starts with ignorance. Unfortunately, this existence in the material quagmire starts with ignorance. What is that ignorance? Ignorance of our original real nature, which is eternal and eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is unfortunately ignorant of that nature, then there is asmita. That asmita means that one considers one's body as the whole and soul. One does not somehow one does not think about that situation where so if someone is passing away, the body is still existing. Then what is the difference between a living body and a dead body? One never thinks about those topics. So that is because of ignorance, avidya, and that is causing asmita. That one is identifying oneself with the body and the mind. And then when one identifies oneself with the body and mind, there is raga and dvesha. So raga is attachment and dvesha is repulsiveness. Whatever in this particular state of body and mind, whatever I like, I am attached to those things. And whatever I dislike, I am repelled by those things. So that is raga and dvesha. And then finally there is abhinivesha. Abhinivesha means one is afraid of death. Because why is it one is afraid of death? Because one thinks that the body is all in all. There is nothing other than the body. When one thinks like that, then when the body is lost, one thinks that everything is lost. And that is not the case. Because body is just a cloth that the real person is wearing. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunanti naroparani tatha shariraya vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad-Gita, that as a living entity is vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunanti navoprani, puts on a new cloth. When the old clothes gets torn or in a bad shape, one takes off the old cloth and puts on the new cloth. So similarly, tatha shariraya vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. When the body gets old, the body is given up and a new body is taken up. It is like a cloth. So it's an amazing example, which is the reality. And that reality, when one comes into the scope of that reality, the domain of that reality, the purview of that reality, then that is jnana. That is a real knowledge. Therefore, this wonderful Vedic Vakya which says, Asato ma sadgamaya. From the untruth, lead me to the truth. So one is going inside and trying to understand one's original nature. So whatever is changing is not a eternal reality. Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata ubayor api drishtantas tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. It is mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita that one understands the real tattvadarshi. Tattvadarshi is one who knows the real truth. They know that whatever is constantly changing, it is not an eternal reality. And whatever is eternal reality never changes. So our eternal reality is that we are eternally in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then when one is in that eternal reality, in terms of one's eternal existence, then all these things that are ups and downs that are coming in the material world will not shake the person in a very strong way. It shakes the person in strong way when one identifies oneself with the body and the mind. Then even the small thing that will come will just shake the person and make the person go really a little bit turbulent. Like even a small wind will make a person turbulent. But if the person is going towards loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is their original eternal nature, then trayate mahato bhaya swalpam apasya dharmasya. So even the greatest danger might come, one will be able to cross over it. Why? Because samashritaye padapallo plavam mahat padam punya yesho murare bhavam budhir vatsa padam param padam yat vipadam natesham. So this is mentioned in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that when one is totally surrendered onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, samyak rupena ashrita, 100%. When that happens, samashritaena padapallava plavam. So the beautiful words used in that wonderful verse. So the lotus feet of the Lord is considered as the ship. Padapallava plavam. Mahat padam punya yasho murare. So this is punya yasha. So this is the when one is engaged in Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. So that activity by itself is pious. When one somehow or other starts hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that itself is piety, beginning of piety. And when the piety has begun, yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha vinirmukta bhajate mam dhradavrata. So Krishna mentions that when one has stopped doing the sinful activities, yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam, and when one has started doing pious activities, which is benefiting others, jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha vinirmukta. Such people, they are free from the dualities of material nature and the attachment to the material nature. Dvandva moha vinirmukta. And what do they do when they are free from those two things? Bhajante mam dhradavrata. They are engaging in my loving devotional service with determination. So this is the transcendental position of human form of life. And especially in the human form of life, this is possible. So that is here this wonderful verse where Lord Brahma is saying that brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ. So Lord Brahmaji is saying that you are very kind, O Nārada Muni, and therefore you have asked this question very perfectly. This question, what is this question related to? Everything is related to Krishna. Vatsa te vicikitsitam. So vatsa is actually the vatsa word means the calf. So that means a child. Okay, so the calf is the child of the cow. So here, because Nārada Muni is the Manasa Putra, the mind-born son of Brahma, he's calling him Vatsa, O child, and your inquisitiveness. vicikitsitam. So he is congratulating Narada Muni on his inquisitiveness. And it is the inquisitiveness that is the most wonderful, again, a wonderful gift in the human form of life. Because when we want to understand why is this like this, why is that like that, and that is the beginning. So chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna artho jignasur artharthi jnani cha. So jignasu is vicikitsitam. So one who has got, one who is inquisitive, that is jignasu, and this vicikitsitam is another word, inquisitiveness. So inquisitiveness is the beginning of the spiritual journey. Yeah, because one starts when one is in that state where probably one has everything, but one still feels unsatisfied. And then in that state of unsatisfaction, one starts to inquire, what is the cause of my dissatisfaction? That I have everything, but still I'm feeling dissatisfied. Then one starts to inquire, why? And that is the beginning. Athato Brahma Jignasa. So then one understands that one starts inquiring, who am I? And that is the beginning of spiritual journey. When one asks this question, Kastvam koham kuta ayata kame janani kame tata. Manasi vichintyam varam varam. So this Srila Shankaracharya says that where have I come from? Who is my original mother and father? When one starts, so that is the beginning of spiritual journey, and that is what is specifically Brahmaji is congratulating Narada Muni for. He's congratulating him for his kindness, because of which he is asking these questions, and his inquisitiveness. Vatsate vicikitsitam. Then yad ahaṁ coditaḥ saumya. So, O gentle one. So the saumya word is a very important word there. So you are asking these questions to me. And why you are asking this question to me? Bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Because Brahmaji has, so tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upaddakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So a real person in knowledge has seen the truth. And here Brahmaji comes from the navel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the lotus and sits on that lotus flower. So he is very closely linked with Krishna in that sense. So because of his close link with Krishna, he is bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. He has understood the prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one of the wonderful things about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that the more one thinks, the more one has understood the Lord, the less one knows that one has understood the Lord. It's a wonderful kind of situation where one might actually think that. There is this verse where it is mentioned that not even the great demigods know me. Krishna says that it is the transcendental state of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like when Krishna incarnated as Krishna himself, as a Bala Krishna, as a small Krishna, and he was doing those wonderful activities. Brahmaji was Name Vidu Suragana Prabhavana Maharshaya Ahaṁ Adirhi Devanam Maharshinam Cha Sarvasya. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad-Gīta, that he says that even the greatest demigods do not know me. Name Vidu Suragana. And my origin, they do not know. Prabhavana Maharshaya. Why? Because Ahaṁ Adirhi Devanam. Because I am the origin of all the demigods. Maharshinam Cha Sarvasya. And all the great sages. So therefore it is very difficult for a wonderful devotee like Brahmaji to know totally Krishna. And we see that in the Brahma Vimohana Leela as well, in Krishna's pastimes, where Brahmaji tests whether Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead by stealing the cows and calves and the cowherd friends of Krishna. And And that wonderful Leela, it shows so nicely about our natural attraction to Krishna. Because there, when Brahma steals this cows and calves and coward friends of Krishna, Krishna himself expands as those cows, calves, and the coward friends. And Krishna himself is staying in those forms with those families of the cow's family, the family of the Vrajvasis. And it is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that when Krishna does that, the love that these families have for that form of Krishna, which they think that is their own child or own calf, becomes just enormous. It is just unbound love that they have, which is more than the love that they would have for the person that was stolen by Brahmaji. So it very clearly shows that our attachment and attraction to Krishna is natural. It is permanently there, and it is natural. There is nothing that can take it away from us, literally. It's just a matter of removing that cover, removing that veil of ignorance. When that veil of ignorance is removed, what we see is our pure love for the Lord. There's nothing else other than that within us. And that is what propels everything in this whole universe, the love for the Lord. Otherwise, there is nothing in this universe other than the love for the Lord. There is nothing else. So the energy that we see everywhere, when we wake up, we have our own energy, and with our own energy, we see a lot of energies, in the sense that people are doing a lot of work, people are engaging in their own daily duties. How is that all happening? It is happening due to the internal and external energy of the Lord. There is nothing else other than that. The internal energy of the Lord is what is making us animated. Like, otherwise, it's dead. There's nothing there. If the internal energy of the Lord and external energy of the Lord is making us see those forms, whatever forms we see in this material world, that is the external energy of the Lord. So there is only, and there's no difference between the energy and the energetic. This in the transcendental sense. This is ekadesha sthitat agnir jyotsna vistarani yatha parasya brahmana kshatir tatedam akhilam jagat. It is mentioned in the scriptures. Just like this fire is situated in one place, but it gives the heat and light to everywhere else. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one place, and his energies are present everywhere. And this is the transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avastita. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, everything is pervaded by my energy. And that way I'm present everywhere, but I'm not personally present. Where is he personally present? Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto. Govindam adi purusham tamam bhajami. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitabhis tabirya eva nijarupataya kalabhi goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto. Govindam adi purusham tamam bhajami. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is personally present in his transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan Dham. And his energies are spreading multifarious ways across the whole universe. And this is, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, here he says, Brahmaji, being so questioned by Nārada ji, congratulated him, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. And this very clearly brings us to that words, Matchitta madgat prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Because their minds of the pure devotees of Krishna are fully absorbed in Krishna, Matchitta, so their whole life is involved in the loving devotional service of the Lord. Madgat prana. And then what are they doing? Bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam. They're talking to each other about whom? About Krishna, mam nityam. When they are talking, always. Nityam. And how they're talking? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. With full satisfaction and with full blissfulness. Because that is what is our natural attraction. Our natural attraction is to remember the Lord and engage in His service. That is a natural propensity. And when the covering gets removed, our natural propensity is seen. So Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example of a person who has jaundice, and they feel that whatever they eat is bitter. So even if they are eating a sugary thing, they will feel that it is bitter. But what is the solution to feel the real taste of the sugar, which is sweet? They have to keep eating that sugar, and then finally they will understand that actually sugar is sweet, it's not bitter. So this is a beautiful example given by Srila Prabhupada, and this is the state. So when one is initially chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one is probably not getting the 100% bliss out of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because that is directly coming. Golokera Prema Dhana Hari Nama Sankirtana. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says that the Prema Dhana, this love for the Lord, which is like an unlimited. So in the material world, we have dhana. Dhana is wealth. But that material wealth, even if it is billions, trillions of dollars, it's limited. It's limited in the sense that either one can keep enjoying the trillions of dollars, but at a time when the death comes, one has to give it up. It cannot be enjoyed eternally. But this prema dhana, this wealth of love for the Lord, is such that one keeps on giving and it keeps on increasing within, and then it is there eternally. Even when the body goes away, that wealth of love for the Lord is ever existing, and it is ever increasing. Anandambudhi vardhanam, pratipadam purnamrita swadanam. This is param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This is the our original nature, where the love for the Lord keeps on increasing. There is no end to the increase for the love for the Lord. It is an unbound ocean of love, which is just. So this is what is being mentioned here. So when these questions are asked by Nārada Muni to Brahmaji is saying that this is what happens. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify that atmosphere in which such discussions are held. So this is Shravana Mangalam Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Jana. So those who are very munificent, they are just giving this profusely everywhere. This love for the Lord, which is the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and his message, which is recorded in Śrīmad-Bhāgavad-Gīta, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, descriptions of the Lord. Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Krishna himself in the form of his pure devotee. So it is purifying both for the questioners and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not only satisfied by knowing everything about the Lord, but are also eager to broadcast the information to others. Nacha tasman manusheshu kashin me priyakritama bhavita na cha me tasmal anya priyataro bhuvi ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhidasyati bhaktim mayim param kritva mame vaishyat samshaya. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that whoever gives this totally deeply full of love and confidential knowledge to my devotees, there is no one dear to me other than that person, and there will be no one dear in the future other than that person. So this is a transcendental position of engaging in these discussions which are there in these wonderful verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And coming back to the verse, brahmovāca samyak kāruṇikasyedaṁ vatsa vicikitsitam yad ahaṁ coditaḥ saumya bhagavad-vīrya-darśane. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Nārada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. So Brahmaji is including himself as well. That because Nārada has asked this question, even he himself has become, Nārada has become merciful to Brahmaji himself. This is the power of engaging in this question and answer session about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which can go on eternally. And it is in our eternal nature to be engaged in it eternally. With that, I would like to thank you all for listening to this discussion. Just see the comments. Anita, Samantha, Radhe Radhe, Krishna Krishna, Jainitai Jainitai, Arindam Mundal, Radhe Radhe, Harsh Pandey, Radhe Radhe, Brain Yadav, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for your hearing this wonderful discussion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam today. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyata Deshatarane. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Krishne Materastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.